There is a crucial truth many men overlook about what truly captures and holds a woman's attention. It isn't about showcasing wealth. It isn't about listing achievements. It isn't even about being the most entertaining or charismatic person in the room. What distinguishes men who genuinely spark a woman's interest from those who are merely tolerated is far more subtle and far more powerful. It's the ability to make her feel deeply recognized rather than simply noticed. It's knowing how to ask questions that move beyond the repetitive conversations she's tired of having. It's understanding that attraction grows through creating an environment where she feels safe enough to reveal who she really is. Before we go deeper into this, I want you to pause for a second and really think about your last few conversations with a woman you were genuinely interested in. Not just what you said, but how the interaction felt. Did it feel alive, like something meaningful was unfolding? Or did it feel like you were both just following a script you didn't even realize you were reading from? Because most men don't fail due to lack of effort. They fail because they're playing a game on the surface. It's what makes someone linger in her mind long after the conversation ends. And if you already feel that this topic hits close to home, I want you to stay with me until the end. Because what we're about to explore could completely change the way you approach attraction, connection, and relationships. Also, take a second to comment below and tell me honestly. What do you think matters most in attraction? Confidence, looks, emotional connection? I read the comments carefully because the conversations happening there are often just as powerful as the video itself. And if you enjoy psychology, relationships, and learning how human connection truly works beneath the surface, subscribe now. Because these conversations are designed to help you understand people in a way most content never does. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If your conversations feel predictable, she already knows where it's going. And once a woman can predict you, she stops feeling you. Now imagine something different. Imagine sitting across from her and instead of trying to impress her, you create a moment where she forgets everything else around her. And here's the important part. When she answers, don't rush to respond. But because what you just asked made her feel something real, that's the shift. That's where attention turns into curiosity, and curiosity turns into emotional investment. Think about the last time someone asked you something that genuinely made you stop and reflect. You probably still remember that moment, don't you? Not because the question was clever, but because it made you feel seen in a way people rarely do anymore. I'm Maggie, host of Queen of Psychology YouTube channel. And what I'm about to share with you is not about manipulation, mind games, or memorizing lines. It's about understanding female psychology through emotional safety, emotional intelligence, and genuine human connection. Because women experience attraction very differently than most men assume. For many women, attraction begins emotionally before it becomes physical. That doesn't mean appearance doesn't matter. Of course it does. But emotional resonance is what transforms interest into attachment. It's what makes someone linger in her mind long after the conversation ends. Psychologists have studied this for years. Research on emotional attunement consistently shows that people feel more bonded to those who make them feel emotionally understood. In relationships, emotional validation activates feelings of trust and safety, and trust is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. This is why some men walk into a room and instantly draw people in without trying too hard. It's not because they're performing better. It's because their presence feels emotionally calming, emotionally engaging, and emotionally real. Now think about what many women deal with daily. They're complimented constantly, but rarely understood deeply. Men notice their appearance, their body, their energy, their smile, but very few people stop long enough to understand what's happening underneath all of that. After a while, repetitive conversations become emotionally exhausting. What do you do? Where are you from? What kind of music do you like? None of these questions are bad. But when every interaction feels identical, she emotionally checks out, before the conversation even has a chance to become meaningful. And this is exactly why so many men get categorized instantly, not because they're unattractive, but because they blend into the emotional background. This question reveals her emotional standards, her wounds, her hopes, and her relationship patterns all at once. A woman may forget what car you drive or where you traveled last summer, but she will remember how she felt sitting across from you. I once spoke to a man who told me, "I don't understand why women lose interest after a great first conversation." And when we analyzed his interactions, the pattern became obvious. Every conversation was technically good, but emotionally empty. He spoke well, he was successful, he was funny, but he was constantly trying to impress instead of connect. So I asked him to try something different. Instead of asking questions to keep the conversation moving, ask questions that make the conversation deepen. The next time he met a woman, he asked her something simple. He said, "What's something about yourself people misunderstand all the time?" And her entire energy changed. She stopped smiling politely and started speaking honestly. Later, she told him, "I feel strangely comfortable talking to you." That sentence changed his understanding of attraction forever, because this is the secret most people miss. Attraction grows in emotional spaces where authenticity feels safe. Now let's talk about the first type of question that creates instant emotional curiosity. Instead of asking predictable questions, ask something reflective. For example, what's something you believed a few years ago that you don't believe anymore? That question does something powerful psychologically. It shifts the brain out of autopilot and into self-reflection. Suddenly, she's not performing socially anymore. She's thinking about growth, change, pain, lessons, identity. And here's the important part. When she answers, don't rush to respond. Most people listen just enough to reply, very few listen to understand. Silence is powerful here. A calm pause after her answer tells her, what you said matters. That alone separates you from most people she talks to. Another incredibly powerful question is, when do you feel most like yourself? Notice how different that feels from asking what she does for work or what hobbies she has. This question bypasses performance and touches identity. She may say she feels most herself while painting, traveling, sitting alone with coffee in the morning, laughing with close friends, or walking in nature without her phone. And as she talks about those moments, she reconnects emotionally with the feeling itself. This is where emotional association begins. Human beings naturally connect feelings to people. If someone consistently makes us feel calm, understood, inspired, or emotionally free, our brain begins associating that emotional state with their presence. And this is exactly why emotionally intelligent conversations are unforgettable. Now here's where many men accidentally destroy emotional momentum. They interrupt with advice. A woman says, I've always wanted to move abroad, but I'm scared. And immediately the man says, you should just do it. But emotional connection isn't built through solving, it's built through exploring. Instead, imagine saying, what do you think is really holding you back? Suddenly, the conversation becomes emotionally alive. She's not defending herself anymore. She's discovering herself while talking to you. There's another question that reveals an enormous amount about someone emotionally. Ask her, what kind of connection do you think people deserve? This question reveals her emotional standards, her wounds, her hopes, and her relationship patterns all at once. Sometimes she'll answer confidently, other times there will be hesitation. And that hesitation itself tells a story. Maybe she's been in relationships where she settled for less than she deserved. Maybe she's still learning what healthy love even feels like. Maybe she's afraid of asking for too much because she's been taught her needs are inconvenient. And this is where emotional maturity matters deeply. You don't judge, you don't psychoanalyze, you simply create safety. One of the most emotionally revealing questions you can ask is this. What's something you wish people understood about you? That question opens a door most people never enter. She may admit she feels lonely even when surrounded by people. She may confess that people think she's emotionally cold when she's actually cautious because of past hurt. She may reveal that she's tired of always being the strong one. And if you respond with genuine presence instead of trying to immediately change the mood, something powerful happens. She feels emotionally accepted instead of emotionally managed. That feeling is rare. There's also something important I want to say to the men listening right now. Emotional intelligence is not weakness. Many men were raised believing they had to perform confidence constantly. But real confidence is not dominating a conversation. Real confidence is being emotionally grounded enough to listen without needing control every second. And women notice this immediately. A man who is comfortable with pauses, comfortable with emotional depth, and comfortable allowing a woman to express herself without rushing her creates a completely different emotional experience than a man who is constantly trying to impress. Her answer will often reveal her hidden desires, suppressed dreams, and emotional conflicts. Watch what happens. People rarely get permission to imagine themselves without limitations. Her answer will often reveal her hidden desires, suppressed dreams, and emotional conflicts. And when someone shares those things, they are showing you parts of themselves they don't show casually. But remember this carefully. These questions are not a checklist. This is not an interview. If you rapid-fire deep questions one after another, it will feel unnatural and emotionally intrusive. Emotional depth requires pacing. One meaningful question explored fully is more powerful than 10 shallow ones asked quickly. And this brings us to one of the biggest mistakes men make. They become so focused on attraction that they stop being present. They overthink every word. They analyze every reaction. But connection doesn't grow through pressure. It grows through presence. Here's a practical exercise I want you to try this week. In your next 3 conversations, ask just one deeper question, only one. Then focus entirely on listening. Notice her tone. Notice her energy shift. Notice how different the conversation feels when someone senses they are genuinely being heard. And I also want you to practice becoming comfortable with silence. Silence is not your enemy. Silence gives emotions space to breathe. In psychology, reflective pauses often deepen emotional disclosure because they signal emotional safety. When you immediately fill every quiet moment, you unintentionally interrupt emotional processing. Some of the most meaningful moments in human connection happen right after silence. And here's something else most men never realize. When you stop trying to impress everyone, you naturally become more attractive to the right people. Because authenticity filters connection. Instead of chasing validation, you begin building compatibility. That changes everything. Now I want you to reflect honestly on your own conversations. Are you listening to understand or listening to respond? Are you trying to connect or trying to win approval? Because those are very different energies, and women feel the difference immediately. One woman once described meeting a man who barely talked about himself during their first conversation. But she said she couldn't stop thinking about him afterward because he made me feel like my thoughts mattered. Think about how powerful that is. Not his looks, not his money, not his status. The feeling he created. That is emotional imprinting. And before we finish, I want to leave you with one final thought. The deepest attraction is rarely created through performance. It's created through emotional experience, through moments where someone feels safe enough to be honest, safe enough to reflect, safe enough to feel understood. So the next time you sit across from someone you're interested in, stop trying so hard to say the perfect thing. Instead, become curious. Become present, become emotionally attentive, because women are not searching for perfect men. They are searching for experiences that feel emotionally real. Now I want to hear from you. Which question in this video do you think would create the deepest connection? And have you ever had a conversation with someone that stayed in your mind for years simply because of how understood you felt? Share your thoughts in the comments because these conversations help more people than you realize. If this video gave you a completely new perspective, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And remember this carefully, people may forget details, but they rarely forget how you made them feel. When your presence creates emotional safety, curiosity, and genuine understanding, you stop becoming just another conversation. You become unforgettable.